What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. Now, I did film this video previously, but because I was driving while I did it and I was using my external mic, the audio was actually not usable. So I'm gonna have some clips in here of that video while me talking and doing a voiceover. Hopefully it's more entertaining than just watching a talking head. But this video is gonna be about some of the questions that I've had on my state ref video, which is one of my more popular videos, and that's kind of unfortunate because that means that a lot of people with Terminator Cobras are getting state ref, so that's not a good thing. But luckily I was able to put out content to help some of you guys hopefully beat state ref and not have to sell your Cobras. So at the end of the video, I'm actually also talking about my emissions readiness test, which every time you pass smog, you have to complete the emissions readiness test if your car is obviously carb legal. So those are the two questions that I had about my state ref, and I'm gonna just try to clarify some of those things for you guys. So with that said, cue the intro. Welcome back to my channel, everybody. I've been having a lot of questions. One of my more popular videos is my one of my more popular videos is my state ref video, and I want to be honest with you guys and talk about not only passing your emissions test, but passing state ref if that's what you're doing. State ref honestly is, yeah, you're in trouble, but really what you need to realize is that you need to pass smog legally, and that's the test you're gonna go to pass. You're not going for them to do anything crazy on your car. Basically what they're gonna be testing is for smog. They're gonna legit smog your car, so they're gonna look at your catalytic converters, they're gonna scan your car, they're gonna look under your hood, things like that. So if you do have aftermarket parts, what they're looking for is a EO number. And I believe Whipple's superchargers do have EO numbers. Now, I myself don't own a Whipple, but what I would think that would happen at that point is you would need a Whipple supercharger tune. So Whipple superchargers, you should be able to contact them and say, hey, I'm going through state ref, I need the EO tune for my EO system. They might request you to send them a picture of your Whipple, make sure that you do own a Whipple supercharger by them, and then what they would do is send you their tune for you to pass smog. So the EO number would include everything together, the entire Whipple supercharger system with their pulley, with their supercharger, with their tune, and all that together with the EO number would help you pass state ref. So you can pass state ref with aftermarket supercharger. It just has to have a California certified EO number. So I believe the newest Whipple supercharger for the Cobra is the only one without the EO number, but don't quote me on that. Like I said, I don't own one personally, but from my knowledge, that's how you would go about passing smog with a Whipple supercharger. Okay, another one of the questions that people ask me is, are they gonna check your pulley? And as you could see, I have a stock pulley. I did have an aftermarket pulley with an aftermarket tune before, and I ended up reaching to someone that sold me their stock pulley, and you don't necessarily need a stock pulley because they're not gonna look at, oh, what's the size on this or anything like that. They're gonna make sure that you have either the stock supercharger or like here, my cold intake has the EO number right here for my JLT intake. That's the only aftermarket part that I have that I pass smog with. So I have the sticker right here to prove that it's carb legal. And this doesn't really necessarily have an EO number. But what they are going to check is that you have the stock tune. So with the stock tune, they're going to connect their computer to your car, and they're going to have, it's kind of like a fingerprint, a set of numbers that lets them know, like, okay, this tune is from Ford, and this is what the car had off the line. Mine had an issue where when I was at Ford reflashing my tune back to stock, I had an issue where my car is a 2004 Mustang Cobra, but they flashed it with a 2003 Mustang Cobra tune. And even though it's the same car, the fingerprint is different. So I had an issue with that. But if you look back in that video, I give you guys the numbers that you need to tell Ford to flash your car in case you do have a 2004 or a 2003 Mustang Cobra. So your scan is pretty much going to be the last thing to worry about, because unless you have everything stock in your engine bay or have EO numbers for it, you're not going to pass smog. This is going to include your catalytic converters on your car, because most of you, like myself included, were running an aftermarket exhaust just to make the car sound better. And like you see back here, I have a borderline attack system that I took off because it wasn't going to pass smog with that system. And another thing I want to go over is these O2 sensors right here on your X pipe. So these two sensors right here are going to be behind. If this was a catalytic converter, it would have your cats in here with a number, like I said, a carb legal number on there. And you would have O2 sensors behind the catalytic converter, and then O2 sensors in front of your catalytic converter, as you could see down there. And those two sensors are going to come in handy when you're passing your emission readiness cycle. And that's probably the most important part at the end of you doing everything. Because if you're working on your car, if you have to take some parts off, if you have to put some parts on, you might have to remove your battery. And if you remove your battery, you're going to reset your emissions readiness cycle. So if you go ahead and complete your emissions readiness cycle, but you need to take out a part or remove the battery for whatever reason, you're just going to restart the emissions readiness cycle. So I suggest that you complete the cycle at the very end once you know your car is ready to go. Now let's talk about your emissions readiness cycle. So the first time that I did complete my readiness cycle, I actually took it to a shop because I was running out of time. I had to go to my state ref appointment, and I just couldn't figure it out, and I didn't have the knowledge of how to pass the emissions readiness cycle or the time to try to figure it out on this particular vehicle. But I'm here to tell you that this time that I completed my Smog, I did complete my emissions readiness cycle myself, and it's very simple actually with this car. It took me a long time for some reason, but I finally figured it out. So as far as your first sensors, like I said, your O2 sensors from your catalytic converter, you're gonna cold start the car and just leave it idling. Don't touch anything. Let the car come up to warm temperature and just leave it running. Your first O2 sensor should get completed like that. Now, for your other monitors, which are going to get complete by themselves, they're not going to take too long. You're just going to drive your car. I suggest trying to complete the catalytic converter cycle because it's the most tedious one. If you try to complete that one by itself, it's going to complete your other cycle. So I suggest just worrying on the catalytic converter cycle. And in California, luckily, you don't even need to complete your evap cycle. So if everything is ready, you don't have check engine lights, and all of your readiness is ready except for your evap, you could go to your smog shop and still pass smog, and I believe even still pass state ref because your evap doesn't have to be completed. With that being said, I believe if you remove the evap system, don't quote me on this, your check engine light comes on. So if you don't have an evap system and your check engine light is on for that reason, you will fail your smog because you can't have a check engine light on the car when you're taking the test. And as far as the catalytic converter cycle, this is how I did it. I legit stopped trying and it worked. So my driving cycle was, I went to Panda Express, which involves taking like five 25 mile per hour stops. So you're just gonna drive 25 miles per hour, and then I took like 4 35 mile per hour stops, and then I took about 4 or 5 45 mile per hour red lights. So just drive through your neighborhood at those speeds, 25 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour, and then go to a street where you could drive 45 miles per hour on stoplights. So it's just stop and go, stop and go. You're gonna drive at those speeds in one cycle, and it should only take about 10 to 15 minutes. It shouldn't take longer than that. If it doesn't complete, bring your car home, shut it off, let it cool down. You could either try later in the day once it's fully cooled down, or you could try the next day. It's completely up to you, but it shouldn't take more than 10 to 15 minutes. I did the mistake of keeping it at 45 miles per hour for long periods of time. I'm just like, why isn't it completing? I'm at 45, but I didn't know that you have to hit the 25, 35, 45s. So you have to maintain those speeds, come to a stop, maintain that speed, come to a stop, and just keep doing it over and over. Just driving in your normal neighborhood, going and coming to complete stops, and you should complete it. If you have any more questions, let me know in the comments, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Sometimes YouTube doesn't warn me when people comment on my videos, so go ahead and hit me up on Instagram. Same thing, SVT Vasquez. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. I appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.
I'm just all about this money. I don't think about no thoughts. Girl, you don't know about me, so get off my fucking D. Born and raised in the dot. This is real as you gon' see. Girl, you don't know about me, so get off my fucking D. Get off my